We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
And welcome to another episode of the California Golden Bearcast, a partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, with a very special episode that has nothing to do with football and yet everything to do with football. If you read the title, this is about the gang going to Notre Dame. I'm one of your hosts, Rob. Alongside me, Andy. It was also alongside me on that bus ride to Notre Dame. We're doing this special episode, Andy, for no other reason but just the pure shenanigans that we went through on that bus ride to and from Chicago. So from Chicago to Notre Dame back to Chicago. Just, I mean, give me your opening line on the trip.
Hectic. Hectic, to say the least.
All right, so before we tell you the story of what happened and just run you through some of the hilarity that ensued, we asked all our buddies that were on that trip, on that bus with us, to send us one-liners or two-liners about the trip that we would read on the air, and we would read anonymously, but unless you explicitly wanted your name told on it. So Andy, you and I will go back and forth because you invited your group of friends and you texted them about it. I asked a bunch of the other guys that were on the bus. So here we go. The first one. It was the worst of time. It was the worst of times. All right. Okay, that one was good. Hit me with one, Andy.
All right. The first one I got for you is drunk lawyer got older lawyer blacked out.
There's so many storylines on this bus. This could be a sitcom. The next one, about bus number 2. It was probably the most fun I had in a crappy situation. Everyone in the back of the bus made it a memorable experience. There was laughter and more time to drink away our disappointment. Shout out to Matt for dealing with all our crap that he had to handle.
Matt was the bartender.
Yeah.
So that leads into mine.
Okay.
Our bartender equals Cal's defense. Our driver equals Cal's offense.
That line will make more sense once we tell the story. Another one for me. Long live Bus 2. Want my one-liner to shout out Matt, our incredibly handsome and ridiculously understanding bartender, but also how ridiculous the 20% discount offer that expires in 2023 was. See y'all at the big game.
Yes, from the CEO's desk himself. Sorry about the trouble. Here's 20% off to your next Notre Dame game. Thanks.
That expires in 2023.
The last one is very niche, but it is, how did Andy know that ramen would revive me?
Well, here's the last one I got, and it's a 3-pointer. Bus trip highlights. Number 1, getting an impromptu, aimless tour of Backroads South Bend residential housing. Number 2, getting the bus restarted and off the shoulder of the highway chanting "Roll on you Bears" in response and having the bus immediately break down again, which echoed the Cal offensive performance. And number 3, being taken care of by the greatest Red Solo Cup mix master in Louisiana Lafayette history.
Louise? Exactly.
Did you know that? Did we end up telling you that? Did you?
That his brother...
No, he was a wide receiver at Louisiana Lafayette. He was a Ragin' Cajun.
No way.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right, let me tell this story. Okay.
Where are you starting?
Bus down. I just want to kind of basically you gotta say 40-foot bus, 40-foot bus to Notre Dame, comes with a bartender. Part of the package we got, Game Day Irish Express. That's the company name. We get down fine, largely without issue, and then the mayhem starts. Really, in a very positive note. We come back from the game. We had a nice Chick-fil-A sandwich waiting in our seat. I mean, that was the best. I was just so excited to have food after not having had food for so long. And we get on the bus, and this is where it starts to get interesting because we pull out of the parking lot and we start to get on the road. And as we're driving out of Notre Dame of South Bend, the police have blocked off the exit that the bus driver is supposed to go on. And we nearly hit our first car of the evening. Yep. Note that I said our first car. Then we take a left turn, the one that was previously mentioned, into the back roads of South Bend. And so we start cruising. We almost hit another car, but we make it on the turn, probably go over a curb. And we start cruising out what seems like the right direction to go until the bus U-turns and takes us back to the intersection where we had just turned down that back road street. And then, by the slimmest of slim margins, avoids running into and hitting a car on a right turn. So now we're back at the same intersection that we were just at where we almost hit our original car. And we take a right turn because the cops have now left and the street is open. And that's the street that takes you out of Notre Dame, out of South Bend. Then... This is one of the craziest parts for me. It had to have been 30 minutes later. 30 minutes later, I look up from the back of the bus. And I look out. And I turn to my friend JJ and I say, JJ, that looks a lot like the stadium scoreboard in front of us. That can't possibly be the stadium scoreboard. And he looks out at it and is like, no, that can't be. And then he looks out to his right and he sees that we are at the same exact intersection where we almost hit the second car, making a right turn towards the stadium. We have literally done a loop in 30 minutes. So this is the third time that we have visited this intersection and the third time that we have hit the curb trying to make that right turn. So now we are all sarcastically leaving Notre Dame. So we're all like, okay, bye for real this time, because it wasn't real the first or the second time that we have done this. So finally, keep in mind, people are bringing out Google Maps. We're following the blue dot to see if we're actually heading towards the interstate or if we're actually just going to do a loop again. And we start going on Interstate 80 of all interstates. Interstate 80 is out there in Indiana. And so finally it sort of feels like we're going home, right? Matt's pouring drinks, coming around. Nothing crazy's happened at this point other than the fact that we looped back for 30 minutes and literally came so close to hitting a car. A woman that looked like a nun, I literally saw her utter the words, "Holy shit."
Can I pause here and give a side story to that?
Yes.
Just up until this point. Josh, our dear friend Josh, who's sitting next to me on the bus, falls asleep. And this man wakes up. And because of the time difference of when we like head back into the area in which we go back into Central Time for Eastern Time, it jumps back an hour. So this man wakes up, and we had left at 7, and it still said like 7:10. And he looks up at me and he goes, "Are we still in South Bend?" He's like, "Please don't tell me it's the same time." And I was like, no. We're finally on the road, but like, yeah, I can imagine his mind just like I was like, we should have done a bit. We should totally all got into it. Like, yeah, bro, what are you talking about? We're still here. It's still 7:00. It's all a dream. But that was just a hilarious little side moment that I had with Josh.
There was a couple of guys that were asleep that was absolutely hilarious because they slept for 45 minutes, woke up, and saw the exact same intersection that they had met when they were at when they had originally fallen asleep.
We saw like the same Winnebagos that like had like the TVs on the side. We're like, we just saw that one.
So at some point, there are a couple of boos, all this, but hey, we're rolling on the interstate. And everything is fine. And then it's not. It's very much not. We pull over to the side shoulder on the interstate. And that's when things get weird. First of all, we have no explanation for what's happening. There's not any communication from the front of the bus that anything is wrong. But we are on the side of Interstate 80, pulled over. Then the engine cuts off. And Rob, I will say, jump in here with any details that I'm missing as I'm kind of going through these events.
Yeah.
Then the engine cuts off. So we lose all AC.
Yep. Then it starts to steam up in that.
Well, and one of the interesting things was one of the other buses pulled over with us for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then we pulled out around that bus.
Yeah.
And then moved in front of it. And that's when we thought we were originally leaving. And that's when we were cheering, "Roll on, you Bears." And then just passed the bus and stopped.
Yeah.
So we have no idea what's happening. People are getting off the bus. So in the back of the bus, we have no idea what's going on. People are off on the shoulder. They're hanging out in the grassy area.
Just because it's hot on the bus.
It's so hot on the bus.
Yeah.
There's no AC. Keep in mind, like, the least safe place you could possibly be is on like a 60-person bus with no mask, with no circulation whatsoever.
With no, well, that's the least of our problems. Like we're on the side of the road with no lights, no nothing on, just as the sun is setting and it's getting
no
darker
chargers,
and darker.
nothing.
No nothing. We need to go back one thing too. Because on the bus ride down when we're leaving Chicago, we exit the city of Chicago, past the toll, and what do? Our bus stops on the side of the road because they forgot to give us the cups for the drinks. So someone was waiting there with the cups, and then we had to stop so they could give our bartender Matt the cups for the ride down. So that story needs to be told because when we first pull over, all of the jokes start coming out. It's like, did we forget the cups again? We forgot the cups again.
Exactly.
And so that's why we pulled over and stopped the first time. And then, yeah, as Andy said, the second time stops and everyone's like, what are we doing? Why are we still here? There was also a moment, like, as we're pulling out into that second, like, after we pulled in front of the bus, like, the bus basically, like, goes into neutral and we're just kind of, like, slowing down slowly. Like, we're not braking as we pull into the stop. And it just, all of us are thinking, oh my God, the bus broke, didn't it? Like the engine died. Like we're stuck here. We're stuck here on a highway in Indiana.
We very much, the level of being stuck was high. The thoughts of being stuck. So, I mean, it is hot as hell. There's no AC. At one point, I was told that you can't stand up because it's throwing off the balance of the bus, and that's why we are stopped, is because people were standing. The AC... So, the guy in the back of us decides that it's at this point in time that he is going to start yelling at the top of his lungs, what is going on? And he maybe did that every 3.5 minutes. So 3.5 minutes would pass, and then he would sit back and go, what is going on? And that's it. That's all he would say. So if you ever want to know what the least helpful thing is to say in that moment, it's that. That's it. That's the least helpful thing you could say, is just adding what is going on at the top of your lungs to an already stressful scenario.
I mean, we also got this story from our bartender, Matt, afterwards, but there was also a guy on the bus that lost his shoes and his socks.
What?
And yeah, I heard this story when we were eating pizza. And apparently, like, it was hilarious because one of our buddies got to his seat and he found a sock on his seat. And I guess it was that dude, and he was just like, he had no idea. And ultimately, I think they found it. It was just on the bus, but like, he was so drunk to the point where he had lost his shoes and his socks. We had some wasted people on that bus.
People are hammered. So speaking of the lawyer, one young lawyer gets another older lawyer blacked out. At one point, my buddy turns and yells down the bus. He's like, grab a shot, we're taking shots. I was like, no chance. I wanted nothing to do with it.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
The large majority of the bus was turning up, however, and the back of the bus was very much turning up. So Matt, the bartender, is pouring drinks, and everyone is just proceeding to get more and more hammered.
On the side of the road. This needs to be constantly stated. We're parked on the side of the road, and Matt's doing double duty, right? He's checking in on the bus driver. He's walking outside the bus to see what else he can do. He's coming back in and asking us if we need anything to drink. Like, he is running double, triple, quadruple duty here.
It was incredible. So at this point, things are looking pretty grim. And, we're hearing rumors that, I can see up to the front of the bus, somebody's reading a manual as if they're reading the manual to the bus. We're getting no communication. I start looking up prices for an Uber or a Lyft to pick us up from the side of the interstate, the shoulder of the interstate, to take us to Chicago. I got anywhere from,
Wasn't it $300?
Yeah, $270 was the last one. That was an XL. I had everyone ready to go, $40 a person, and we would have been out of there. It was mayhem, if it doesn't sound like that.
There were a lot of jokes being thrown around too, because I made the joke that because you were talking about how there was surge pricing, and another guy at the front of the bus was saying that there was surge pricing, and I was joking that it was the two of you causing the surge pricing because there's no Ubers out there. There was no Ubers out there in the middle of an interstate in Indiana.
The surge was very much our own. We were driving up our own price. At one point, the bus turned on, and we tried to drive.
And then turned back off.
And we drove over, I swear, a rumble strip.
Yep.
And then decided that the bus was still broken and pulled it over to the side. So I'm now screaming in the back, it was just a rumble strip! Which isn't helping anyone feel better about it.
Nope.
So finally, we all get back on the bus. They bring everybody back. They're going to try this thing. They turn on the bus and they drive. And the bus is fine.
Yeah.
So we're on our way.
We're about at this point we're about, I'd say, about an hour and a half out of Chicago.
Hour and a half out.
Yeah.
And so the bus is now moving. Everyone is now drinking because this is our night. You know, before we were going to get back at a reasonable hour, you could go back home, you could change, you could go out, but this is our night. So I'm like, all right.
We're getting drunk here.
Rum and Cokes.
Yeah.
Let's do this because this is our only option.
I one more one-liner that I remember as we're rehashing this story is, I think it was Nick who was like something about like the bus is the same as the Cal offense, it just keeps stalling. someone said something along those lines. And this but that was just the best. And then I think that you mentioned it, but just I need to emphasize the moment the bus started going again, like the first time, and all of us just started yelling "Roll on, you Bears" in unison on that bus was just poetic. And then the fact that we said "Roll on, you Bears" as if we got a first down, only to have the engine stall on us again, was even more poetic, considering the game we had just watched.
It really was incredible. And then every time the bus like would slow down, just boos, like boo. And I mean, it was just wild. But the bus is rolling.
Yep.
And we are now going into Illinois because we've reached the toll. And Illinois, speaking of which, Illinois has tolls for their highway, which are really inconvenient when you rent a car. And no one really noticed this on the way down, but on the way down, I noticed it, that we had pulled into the cash lane instead of the I-Pass lane. And obviously the bus has the Easy Pass. And our bus driver had pulled over 2 lanes to kind of move into the I-Pass lane and go through it, which I thought was a weird move for a big-ass bus. Well, let me tell you, we make the same mistake again. And we go into this toll plaza 4 lanes away from where you would ordinarily go in if you have an I-Pass.
The I-Pass is on the far right. We basically went into a lane in the middle of the highway, like the far left.
Just imagine going into the maze, going to San Francisco, and being in a fast track lane in the middle and trying to get to the fast track lane on the outside right side. That's as big of a move as we were away from where we needed to be.
With a charter bus.
So, like, okay, worst case scenario, you just go through the cash lane. It's not like the freaking thing isn't going to register you. No, that was not an option for our bold bus driver. Logic be damned. We basically reversed the bus, cut right, and now the right side of the bus, where I was sitting, are now all staring at cars that are driving literally right into us.
We are perpendicular to all of the lanes. We are 90 degrees.
We are blocking
perfectly perpendicular.
5 to 6 lanes that people could go in to go through the toll, including 3 semi-trucks that are literally lights on directly at us. I ran from the right side of the bus to the left side of the bus to save my life and sacrifice my friend JJ in the spirit of this ride home. It was bananas. One of the craziest driving moves I think I have ever seen to this day.
It needs to be in the next Fast and Furious movie, honestly. Just the sheer amount of driver balls it had to take to pull off that move. To like, he basically went like, they like went 90 degrees to make us parallel, and then went forward a little bit, just enough to get him space to turn back left a full 90 degrees back into the lane that gets us the Easy Pass. Stellar.
It was outrageous. And
you've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor. Grab some extra napkins and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
You know, at that point, getting through there, it was wild. I mean, everyone is hammered. You're sort of realizing that this is the situation that it's going to be. Apparently, the front of the bus had several old blues that were very upset. In the back of the bus, everyone was just drinking.
We're just enjoying ourselves.
It was one of the craziest times. And so we didn't get. I think I'm missing something here, but
that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the story. I can't remember if it was that toll gate or the other one where our bartender Matt had to get off the bus because the bus driver couldn't reach the toll machine.
Ah, yes.
Was it at this stop or was it one more? I can't remember. It was the next one, right? Yeah, they couldn't reach, so he actually had to get off the bus to pay the toll to get back on the bus, and we all cheered for him when he did.
You want to know what's hilarious about that? Yes, so Matt got like a huge Matt chant. And then the funniest thing is you don't even have to pay that. You have the iPass. So if you're going to go through the iPass lanes, it's just as going to auto bill you when you get off. So you didn't even need to pay it. It was all unnecessary. Oh, so
is that where your story ends? We do have one more incident after that.
There is one more incident. Go for it. Take it away.
When we get into Chicago, our bus driver overshoots the exit back to Punch Bowl Social. And we actually get off like another 2 exits past it and had to circle back into where we were supposed to be dropped off.
And we hit another 2 curbs.
Yep.
We really didn't care about curbs. We just hit them. We hit them hard.
No, we went full GTA style driving.
So the rumor was on the solution that one of the old blues at the front of the bus was an engineer and that the engineer had fixed the bus. That's what I had heard. That was the rumor that I had heard. And then I get off the bus and I said, which one of you old blues do I have to thank for fixing the bus? And they turn to me and go, none of them. It was just that the check engine light had come on and our bus driver felt uncomfortable driving any further. So that's why we pulled the bus over to begin with. And that the solution for this whole thing was just simply driving with the check engine light on.
I guess you could argue that he or she made the right choice for people's safety because we don't know why the engine light was on. But clearly the check engine light turned off at some point, right? Because they started.
No, they just drove through it. They just drove through it. But I mean, yes, okay. It is
from a safety perspective,
nerve-wracking to have the check engine light on. But at some point, when you've been pulled over on the side of the road for an hour, it might be worth just seeing if the bus is driving normally. Or telling everyone on the bus that, hey, the bus is fine. I just want to make sure that the check engine light isn't anything that we should be concerned about. Which would be really helpful information instead of having your passengers try to order Uber rides to pick them up from the shoulder of the highway for $270. So that was our ride home. That's how we got home from the Notre Dame game. So it took us 3 hours. We missed most of luckily Chicago's late city, so we got dinner. And then you had just scores of just blacked out, very drunk people hopping off of this bus. And we had they had bottles upon bottles of alcohol, and we were killing them. I mean, we went through alcohol on the way back.
As I said, it cannot be understated how much Matt was the MVP of this entire journey.
And one of our friends had the idea of him pulling out his Venmo and people scanning it, and it was one of the coolest moments because he went around and all you heard for the next like minute and a half was just the cash ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
Just sending him tips. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so
and then also
cool.
thanking him for everything. I think that was the little nice moment. He just went down the line, everyone scanned it, paid whatever they wanted to him, and just was like, "Thank you, Matt, for constantly serving us drinks the entire time, keeping us like, the dude was like calling the company too to figure out what to do. Like he was the bartender. He didn't really need to do that. That's on the bus driver, to be honest. But he was just trying to make the journey as comfortable as possible and as fun as possible. And the cool part was that we found out that he wasn't a Notre Dame fan too, so he was an Illinois fan. So to have that moment and where he was wearing a green shirt on the ride down, but then he changed into a black shirt, and his explanation was he didn't want to wear green because he didn't want to like feel like he was a Notre Dame fan, and he found this black shirt, which is why he changed into it, and he got a little fun cheer out of us. So yeah, it was a nice little moment.
And that's how we got home.
Yep.
Somehow,
some way.
But there was like a very not real chance that a solid portion of the Right for California crew was not coming back. And once again, who do we have to blame? Is it the bus driver? No. Is it the company? No. Is it the bus itself? No.
It's us.
It's NAM. It's NAM for going and saying those things about Touchdown Jesus and then continually repeating them on the bus on the way home. What a journey.
What a day that was. I'm trying to remember if there were any other fun moments on the bus. But I do have some footage from the bus that probably will never see the light of day in terms of like social media. It might see the light of day because I might share it with just some of or at least to the people on the bus. I might just share it to them when the bus was stopped, I whipped out my 360 camera and I was just taking footage for like a good 2 minutes. Just the sheer insanity of people talking and everything going around. I remember one hilarious like anecdote story was one dude was like, the bus is stopped, like to the back of the bus. And all of us were like, yeah, we're on the bus with you. Like, what source told you that? And then we started joking about how the source was the bus. Sources close to the bus tell us that the bus is stopped. And we were joking about that for a very long time.
One of my favorites was actually on the bus ride down. Someone came out of using the bathroom and turned to us in the back and said that it wouldn't flush. And so what happened was a bunch of people would start coming back to use it. And we had started talking amongst ourselves and said, well, if everyone is using this, eventually it's going to reach a maximum point and it's going to be overflowing. And that would be a huge problem for mainly us in the back, but for the bus as a whole.
Well, literally because you were sitting right in front of the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, for us, huge problem. And so what we decided was we would boo loudly every single time someone would come to the back of the bus. But we would never tell them why we were actually booing. And so these people would come back to choruses of boos. And so finally, we're booing. People are like, what's going on? We're like, it's clogged, blah, blah, blah. And then finally someone comes out and I was like, and they're like, it's not clogged. It works just fine. The whole time it worked perfectly fine. So people were walking down the bus, getting showered with booze, going and using the bathroom, flushing the toilet, getting booed on their way back, having no idea why. And our reasoning for it was actually incorrect and everything was just functioning totally normally. Hectic.
That sounds like a microcosm of the entire bus ride.
Yeah.
Everything was working fine, but we were acting like it wasn't.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
The sheer insanity. Like, as Andy said in whichever pod you're listening to first, like, this was my first big away trip, like, outside of the Pac-12. This was Andy's first big one in a while. And just for this game, to have all of that off the field, like, just bonkers. That's just straight bonkers. I mean, the one thing we forgot to talk about a little bit on the other pod, too, was just, like, we walked 30 minutes to the campus to our tailgate. And that tailgate was bonkers, too, with the amount of people that we had there. The food was amazing. It was perfectly what we needed after that long ride there. But we also had a guy lead us in the "Give Me a C" chant with all of those Notre Dame fans around us. And I remember some of the Notre Dame fans, after we did the cheer, looking at us going, okay, yeah, not bad. Not bad, Cal fans.
It was
not
really
bad.
cool. It was really cool.
We instilled some respect for our fan base with certain Notre Dame fans. So that was cool. I mean, that's not even telling the story of the casual racism that some of us got to.
Yes.
But that's a story for another day. But yeah, it was cool. There was a moment where we were walking past, like, I guess near Touchdown Jesus, there was a tent, and it had, like, the Asian American Student Association on campus, or, like, the Asian Student Association on campus. And as a few of us are walking by, we were like putting our fists up in the air going, "Unity!" And they looked at us. They gave us a little high five and a little wave too. It was all good fun, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah, Notre Dame's not winning any awards for diversity on campus. I'm just going to say that. We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Leave it there. All right. That's the journey of the bus. If you heard about it, that's what happened.
If you were there, cheers to reliving some memories. But hashtag never forget, hashtag bus number 2, baby.
And so appropriately named. Bus number 2. Could not have been. Was it number 3? Number 2.
That wraps it up for us. As always, go Bears.
Go Bears.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.